I've had the opportunity to do a wide range of car modifications over the past few years, and in this video I want to talk about some of the mods that didn't work out, and I'll offer some alternatives so that you guys don't make the same mistakes that I did. With age and experience comes wisdom, and what I thought was cool a few years ago is different from what I think is cool now. I'll start with the most controversial one, which is the super loud exhaust, and maybe I'm just getting old, but the loud exhaust doesn't appeal to me the way that it did a few years ago, and the exhaust system that we have on the FRS is just too loud. So hear me out, every engine is different, every exhaust system is different, all cars have a different amount of sound deadening in the interior, and I actually like the exhaust that I have on my 340 because it sounds stock pretty much from inside the car. You don't really hear it until you get on it. Most of the time when you're just cruising around, whether it's on the highway or just normal driving, you really can't tell that it's aftermarket from inside the car. But with the FRS exhaust, it's just ridiculously loud all the time. It literally shakes the house when we start the car. It drones on the highway, and if my wife and I are in the car together, we have to shout to be able to hear each other. So in the future, I'm not sure if I would buy an aftermarket exhaust unless there's either A, noticeable performance gain from it, or B, a way to adjust the volume, whether that be a valve system or something like that. But just something to keep in mind, especially if you're modifying a daily driver. Alcantara has become a super popular material for car interiors, and you can see I've got it all throughout my interior here, and I think it looks great. The problem with putting it on a steering wheel is that it gets dirty and it's really difficult and time consuming to clean. So if you're not familiar, Alcantara is a man-made material that's made to imitate suede, so it's basically a really high-tech fabric, if you will. Now, everyone who's had an Alcantara steering wheel has probably done the scratch test where you run your fingernail along the side and you can just see the dirt and grime and stuff that's built up from your hands. It's really gross, and unlike leather or faux leather, you can't just take some cleaner on a rag and wipe it off. It's like this whole hour-long process to get this thing clean, and then afterward, it's going to be damp until it air dries, which is kind of gross. Now, there are some pros to it. For performance driving, Alcantara does offer better grip compared to a leather wheel, and at extreme temperatures it's less shocking to the touch, but I think for me, at least for a daily driver, I think just a basic leather wheel with a thick rim, something like the M3 wheel that I had in my E90 would be just perfect. I've had mixed experiences with aftermarket body panels and carbon fiber parts, and depending on the supplier or where you buy them from, sometimes they fit perfectly, and sometimes they don't fit at all. So a couple examples. These carbon fiber side skirt extensions on the FRS, the fitment on them is not great, and it didn't help that they were kind of deformed on arrival. Now, they did straighten out a little bit when I put them on the car, but they're still not quite right, and these things were not cheap. I had a similar experience with a fiberglass trunk on my BMW. The part itself was poorly made, and the fitment on it was terrible, and to this day I look back on that as my biggest car modifying mistake. The first time that it rained, the trunk part filled up with water. The whole thing was just a disaster, and I've heard similar stories about carbon fiber hoods and trunks as well. So bottom line is, if you want body panels that fit perfectly, just keep the ones that are already on your car. I noticed that carbon parts that I've got from Keys Motorsports have had consistently good fitment compared to random eBay sellers, so I reached out to my friend Brian and asked what they're doing differently. This is what he had to say.
So when it comes to carbon, we know that there are a lot of different varieties out there. We try to use the lightest, strongest carbon. We use mostly dry, which a lot of people think has to do with if it's glossy or if it's matte. It actually has to do with the manufacturing technique. This is a piece of dry carbon and it is light as a feather, which I absolutely love. We also like to test fit our pieces to make sure that everything is going to fit absolutely perfect. And another thing we do just to go the extra mile is we like to use very special tape that we actually have made right here in the United States in North Carolina. It costs about 10 times as much if we got this overseas, but this is the most important part of a spoiler because, well, it's what holds it to your car. So if you use cheap tape, it may fly off, where we invest where it absolutely matters in the quality and also making sure that the installation is going to go flawlessly and it's going to stay on your car. Another thing is that we are New Jersey based, right over here in the USA. That's where your products are going to be inspected and shipped from. And we also have a tier 1 support team right on the other side of that wall. So if you need any help with anything, we are physically here in the US to help you out.
M Sport conversion. So this isn't necessarily something that I regret, because I think it was a good learning experience for me. I had some fun doing it and I got some good YouTube content out of it, but I don't think I would do it again. I think for a lot of people, and maybe myself included at some point, there's this idea that instead of paying a premium for an M Sport, that you could just buy a base model and then do the M Sport conversion yourself and save some money. The problem is, it's not just bumpers, it's brakes, it's suspension, the steering wheels are different, and by the time you buy all that stuff, and assuming that you're going to do all the work yourself, you're going to end up spending way more than if you had just bought an M Sport to begin with. And like I explained in the last section, you're taking a risk that it's not going to be a perfect fitment, you're taking a risk that the paint isn't going to be 100% perfect color match or of the same durability and quality as a factory paint job. There's just so many different variables. You know, I got lucky with mine that the bumpers and everything for keys fit perfectly, and I went to a really good shop and paid a lot of money to have the paint done perfect. So that's just another thing to keep in mind. Now, if you already own the car and you plan on keeping it for a while and you just want to switch up the look, then go for it. But don't go out of your way to buy a base model thinking that you're doing yourself some kind of favor. If you really want an M Sport, just save up and buy one. Having a super low car is awesome until you have to drive somewhere. So I love the slammed car look, but in my experience, having lived with this for a little while now, it gets old. And I know someone's gonna say, it's not even that low. Dude, come check this out. You see that exhaust flange? That used to be round. We scrape all over town in this thing, and it forces you to change the way that you drive. Your eyes are just constantly darting all over the road looking for potholes and uneven concrete, and there's even been times that I've taken routes that are out of my way if I know that the roads are not low car friendly. Extreme lowering puts extra wear and tear on your tires and the other suspension components, and of course the bottom of your car gets all scraped up. And for what? Worse ride quality? When I swapped out the Buice shocks for the BC Extreme Low coilovers on my E90, the ride truly suffered. It's like I paid money for the car to drive worse. But man, it looked cool in pictures. I think for someone on a budget who's looking to upgrade their suspension, I would recommend a high quality shock and spring combo over a lot of these extreme lowering coilovers. It's actually going to be a little bit cheaper and your back will thank you. A common car modifying mistake that I've made myself a couple times is buying wheels that are the wrong size. So I think most people know about bolt pattern and diameter, but there's a ton of other considerations as well: width, offset, center bore, brake, and suspension clearance. The first set of aftermarket wheels that I ever bought were for my XB. They were the set of XXR wheels, and I knew that I needed a 4x100 bolt pattern, but that was about it. And I ended up with these super wide wheels with a +0 offset, and they stuck out like 2 or 3 inches from the car in the front. It just looked absolutely ridiculous. A cool trend that I've been seeing is OEM wheels on other makes and models, and there's a really cool Facebook group by the same name if you want to see more of what I'm talking about. Rather than buying aftermarket wheels, people are buying OEM wheels from other makes and models and putting them on their car. And the cool thing about running a stock wheel, especially if it's from a German car, is that the quality is actually really, really good. Not this one because it's a rep. This is my spare tire. A lot of times stock wheels actually go through more thorough and rigorous testing compared to a lot of the cheap aftermarket wheels that we have here in the US. And OEM wheels tend to have more conservative offsets, so there's less of a risk that it's going to poke out from the car or rub on the suspension on the inside. And if you go with wheels of the same make, there's a better chance that the wheel's going to work better with the car's overall design language than just taking a chance on some random aftermarket wheel. Ultimately, buy whatever wheels you like, just make sure that they fit. As I've gotten older, my preferences for car modifications lean on the subtle side. Lately, I like the OEM Plus approach, where instead of going aftermarket for everything, you use only parts from BMW's catalog or retrofit parts from higher trim models. It respects the designer's intentions and only improves upon it using factory spec parts, only occasionally looking to the aftermarket when a part exceeds the performance or reliability of stock. These days, reliability and daily drivability remain my top priorities. I'm driving to Florida in a few weeks, around 2,000 miles round trip, and I need to trust that my car and everything that I've done to it can make it there and back in one piece. Let me know down in the comments what modifications you've regretted. I want to plug my website here really quickly. Here you can see all of my current 340i mods in one place with specs and links to most of the parts. These are the mods that did work, by the way. I have a shop with some merch. These M brake caliper decals have been a hot seller. I've got a blog with step-by-step written DIYs that accompany these YouTube videos, as well as some other random stuff that I'm into that I probably won't do videos on. Anyway, feel free to check it out, justinbuice.com, justinbuice.com. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.